You hear a few notes of an old song, maybe the faint wail of a saxophone from down the street, and instantly you are somewhere else. Your mind takes you right back to a specific room, a specific night, pulling you entirely out of the present. The writer Paulo Quispe Machado explores the sensation in his piece Frozen in Time. He describes standing in a dimly lit jazz club, mesmerized by a first look across the room, only to walk away in silence. Machado captures the quiet tragedy of that night. Neither person spoke up because they fell into a deeply human trap, the assumption that there would always be more time. They believed life would circle back and offer them a second chance. But relying on infinite time breeds hesitation. We wait for a better moment, and by doing so, we anchor ourselves to an idealized past, entirely paralyzed as the rest of the world moves on. This animated diagram illustrates what we can call the two clocks theory. The top line represents external reality, a rigid, physical progression that only moves forward. The bottom line represents our internal perception of time, which is highly malleable and prone to bending back on itself. While the universe's clock marches strictly left to right, human consciousness can bend that bottom timeline into a closed loop. The internal clock pauses entirely, looping a single memory over and over. We end up caught in a physical contradiction. By living inside the paused loop of our own memories, we place our internal existence in direct opposition to the unrelenting forward motion of the physical universe. Machado's narrator eventually wakes up far from that jazz club, describing themselves as a stranger in the gray. They are physically standing in a bleak, empty present, while their mind remains tightly bound to the warmth of a room they left years ago. The lyric, "Time kept breathing, but I stood still," captures this dissonance perfectly. The narrator recognizes the external world moving and shifting around them, yet their emotional core refuses to advance. They even make a promise to push through the dark and emptiness, to somehow find a way back and claim the person they left behind, a completely irrational vow to reverse the flow of reality. Psychologists have a term for the illusion of time stopping, chronostasis. It happens when our attention is so fiercely locked onto a single, overwhelming stimulus that our brain literally edits out the passing seconds, making a fleeting moment feel permanent. In Machado's text, that overwhelming stimulus is an unfulfilled desire, a hand he never held. By fixating on what could have been, the unacted impulse calcifies into a heavy psychological weight, preventing him from engaging with anything new. The sorrow here comes from a deliberate choice. The narrator is actively opting out of their own emotional growth, choosing to stand still for a ghost rather than participating in the life they actually have. Machado explores the harsh counterpart to this emotional stasis in a separate piece, The Changing of Times. Here, the romantic nostalgia drops away, and we are forced to look directly at the mechanics of the external universe. Cosmological time does not care about those missed connections. It operates as a force of unrelenting physical entropy, steadily breaking down complex systems into dust. The text strips away any illusion of control, stating bluntly that time only waited long enough to see his flesh before taking it. There is no grand negotiation, just biological decay. Imagine the shock of that realization. You spend years staring backward, tending to your bright, carefully preserved memories, only to discover that the Earth kept right on spinning and your physical life has quietly run out. The universe's linear decay holds absolutely zero empathy for human regret. If you force the two clocks to compete, the external clock will systematically outlast and erase your internal one every single time. When you press the immovable desire to hold on to a past moment directly up against the unstoppable progression of physical reality, something has to give. This diagram illustrates that exact trade-off. Choosing to remain frozen in time requires the sacrifice of the present. The fixation on what is already gone expands until it swallows your actual life, erasing whatever bright thoughts and future dreams you might have built. Machado charts this erasure in 4 final stages: whispers, silence, the universe. And finally, being gone entirely, without ever understanding why. Chronic regret demands complete self-erasure. If you refuse to step out of the loop and participate in the present day, you guarantee that you will be left behind. Reading these two poems together gives us a blunt set of instructions for how to actually live. Because the physical decay of the world cannot be bargained with, we cannot afford the luxury of letting our internal clocks freeze. You have to find the nerve to say the words and cross the room that night. Hoping that the trains will somehow bring you back under different skies is a bet you are going to lose. The universe will keep spinning, ticking, and moving forward with or without us. Our only defense against fading into silence is to act fearlessly, right now, while we still have the time.